So let's get right to it. Hi guys, it is great to see your faces. The only announcement that I have for us this week is that there won't be a live call next week because it is Christmas weekend. So you'll have a pre-recorded call, but we will have a live call the following week. And we are doing something new with Fitme. We talked about this if you were at the events, we kind of chatted about this, like, how do you even tell somebody about Fitme? And so we're trying something new, which is doing a free week where we're basically going to like guide people through their first 10 plates and getting some movement and some water, and they get to try out the app and they get some encouragement in a small group setting. So we're going to do our first free week for Fit Me the week after Christmas. So if you know somebody who you think would be interested in trying that, it's just zero strings attached. They can literally just try it out. And if they like it, they can jump in the on track group. But if not, they can just take what they learned about the Fit Me plate and use it in their life. But we're trying that. We'll probably have it be an ongoing thing, but the first time ever that we're trying it is the week after Christmas. So if you have somebody that's interested, tag them. I threw it in the Facebook group. And then, yep, I think that's it for announcements, other than next week just not having a live call, and then we'll pick up the following. What we're going to talk about tonight, we've been focused a lot on the morning routine, evening routine. Last week, I added that piece of that 1% rule, almost like getting us out of this all or nothing mindset of we can't even tackle one of these like morning or evening routine things without overhauling it completely. It's like if I say like, let's clean out our closet, and you're like, nah, I'm not touching it until I can do the whole thing, versus being like, well, if I got rid of one piece of sad clothes, that would be a positive. That's kind of what I'm talking about, is like applying like a 1% is better than nothing. And I want to have that be something we return to on the regular. So I know it was last week's topic, but I wanted to just mention it before we dive into today's. Every single Sunday, I give you kind of like your thought homework, your action step for the week, something you can actually use. But it would be a loss if you were like, well, I can't do that. And so then you didn't do it. Or you're like, I want to do it, but you don't because it's not going to be perfect. I want you to go into every single week with these weekly targets, along with the other things you're working on, thinking about that 1% rule. Like, what if I just did 1% of this weekly target every single week for the next 52 weeks? If I just did 1% of it, you are still like way, 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 way better off than that feeling of, well, I can't tackle it because I can't do it perfect, or now's not the right time, or I want to do it later. Because we file that away all the time. I can't tell you how many times I hear that. Like, people will tell me, oh, I know what the weekly target is, but I'm going to have to do it in a couple of weeks, or I'm going to tackle it at this point. I want you to always approach it with, you can do something with it, even if it's just move the needle forward 1%. And so you're going to hear me return to that a lot. But going into Christmas week, this is kind of our week of, for most people, if you celebrate Christmas, you probably got occasions coming up, treats on the way. You know, this is a week for us to spend time with family. Some people have time off work in the next week or two coming up. You have a lot of things to potentially enjoy. And so I wanted to talk about mindful eating. This is something we need all year anyway, but why not talk about it right now when we truly want to be present with our food, both our quality, healthy food that we're choosing and the sweet treats that we're choosing to enjoy. Being present in those occasions can be really helpful. And it's something that you can take and use all year long. So I'm going to give you some of these mindful eating strategies. And again, you don't have to do them all. That would be unrealistic, actually, for you to do them all. But doing even one of these on the regular, taking one of these into your routine can be, I think, is a win. So the first piece of the mindful eating strategy is, if we've already lost our minds, it's hard to be mindfully eating. So what I mean by that is, if you are starving, or super duper stressed or mad, anything under the umbrella of I've lost my mind, it will be tough to do mindful eating, right? So I think that's just like going to be a given. And one of the things like practically you can do is if you are starving, then before you go into eating, maybe like take the edge off, eat something small first, and then go into your big meal. Or if you're going to go to a holiday party this week, or you're going to go into a special occasion, don't go in starving. Also, don't go in mad, and don't go in, super duper stressed. If you can help it, take a little breather before you enter into a place where you're going to eat a bunch of food. Again, mindful eating doesn't mean restriction. It just means being present, enjoying the choices we're making, being aware of the entire experience, like consuming food for all that it is. So don't go in starving. The second thing is you're going to want to use all of your five senses when you're eating. This one's hard for me, to be honest. But we usually just eat with our mouths, and sometimes I don't even taste my food. I stuff it down so fast. I have been a fast eater my entire life. And so sometimes I don't even taste it. So if we are eating with our five senses, the first thing that you will actually do is look at your food. So I think that's where you start if you're going to do mindful eating, is actually just look at it with your eyeballs and take a minute. Take a minute to appreciate it, whatever it is. I mean, I'm talking from a Fitme plate that you put together that you're pumped about because it has cucumbers and veggies on there and like a solid protein. Like, look at it with your eyeballs. Or if you just decorated cookies with the kids and you're going to eat some, and you're going to look at it first. I know that sounds so silly. I don't know if I've ever like deliberately looked at Christmas cookies and just looked at them before I ate them. But eat them with your eyes first. Next, when you put it in your mouth, actually taste it. So that does mean slowing down. Slowing down to actually taste your food is a big part of mindful eating. Smelling your food. So smelling it is a thing that, again, it seems so silly, but if you just set a table and you're about to eat Christmas dinner, or New Year's Eve party, and you actually could smell your food, smelling it tells your brain you're eating. So it's a funny thing that our senses actually do for us, which is give us signals that we've eaten something. And so when you smell something, you look at it, you taste it. I don't think we can hear our food, but you can register that you are eating. And that is a huge part of mindful eating. Again, whether it's a treat or whether it's your regular food, or even, you know what, even if it's not your favorite choice. I'm not just talking about mindful eating when we've like got it all lined up. Like when we've got it all in a row, we've got our Fitme plates and it's perfect, or we've got our treat that we're so pumped about enjoying. I think that mindful eating, even when we're like making a, this is the best in the moment kind of decision, is still really valuable. It's like, okay, you had to grab fast food. It was truly what you had to get. Then take a minute, smell it, look at it, take it all in. Own it and just eat it like enough so that you can feel satisfied and full. There's no judgment associated with it, but this is sort of something you can practice. Practice doing this and you'll get better at doing it. So eating with all of your senses, appreciating your food is a thing. Some people use a gratitude practice like saying grace. It's associated with their religious practice that they do. Other people just have a gratitude saying that they say. But being grateful for the food slows you down a little bit. And then the last piece is to take smaller bites and chew it. I know this sounds so dumb. When I say it out loud, it sounds dumb, but if you're like me, I inhale my food. Mindful eating is something I really have to think about. Otherwise, I won't do it. And so think of it from a start to finish process. If you were going to go to a concert that you cared about, from start to finish, it would be an experience. You would walk in, you could probably smell the, auditorium or what it's like. You're going to hear sounds. You're going to start to like experience it. You're probably going to put your phone away if you care. You're going to pay attention to what's happening. You're going to hear the music and watch what's happening with your eyes as it's going up there. So if you're really going to enjoy that experience, whatever it is, you'll be present for it, and it's deliberate. And then at the end, when there's clapping, that's how you experience something. That's how you can experience your food. And when we do it, it just makes it more enjoyable, no matter what it is. And at the end of the day, what we're doing here in Fitme is we're approaching food in an entirely different way. We're talking about how to nourish our bodies, how to fuel ourselves, how to feel our best, and how to enjoy our food so that we don't have all that baggage associated with it. And mindful eating is something that, we can all make that 1%, forward movement on. So I kind of want to open it up, hear from you guys. Is this something that you struggle with? Have you worked on this before? Are you somebody like me who consumes food in a moment with like 45 screens and then I don't even know if I ate it? Or are you someone who already is somebody who does this and has maybe a tip you could share with everybody? Hey, we got nothing to talk about for mindful eating.
So I say I started to kind of change my narrative. So I would go in if I went into a party, especially like my girl's birthday party was today. Even though I knew what kind of cake we had, I go in and I'm like, if it's bullshit cake, I'm not eating it. Don't eat. You can look at a cake and tell. If it's BS cupcake,
100%.
I'm not eating it. But if it is, I will. And I say it out loud, and it's almost like I'm allowing myself. So I don't go in and going, okay, you can't have cake, can't drink soda, you can't do this. I will go in and be like, if it's really good cake, I'm going to have a slice. If it's not, I'm not. I'm not going to waste my time on store-bought cookies. And I just say it out loud, and it almost like clears the air for it.
I love that you shared that you say it out loud, because I didn't even mention that as a piece of what could be very, very important for mindful eating, which is to talk about the food, even if you're talking about it to yourself. But if you're sharing it with somebody, talking about it also makes it much more mindful. So I love that one, Sarah. And I think it's good that you say it out loud. It gives you intention. It's really the definition of being mindful. It's like, I'm going into this with this intention. These are sort of my boundaries, and this is what I want. And if it's this way, I'm going to enjoy it. And if it's this way, I'm not going to say yes, I'm going to say no.
One thing that I was thinking about is that sometimes I go in with like, I'm going to have some treats, but I don't really define what that means. Like, if it's going to be boundaryless, that's fine, I feel like. But I don't always say like, I'm only going to do the ones I enjoy, every bite. I'm only going to do the non-store-bought ones. I just go in like, I'm going to have some treats. And then I end up having all the treats when in my mind, that's not really what I meant, because I just really didn't like put like an exact plan into place. Does that make sense? I just kind of am like, yeah, I'm going to have some treats. Like, well, what are some treats? Like, what does that mean to you? And so that's something I'm going to really think about for Christmas, because I don't like that feeling of like, just, eating all the treats, because I feel sick. Like, I literally physically don't like that feeling, but I feel like since my mind hasn't wrapped around what exactly my plan is, that it doesn't care. I don't know.
It's that mindfulness around your intention, I think, like what Sarah was talking about, being kind of specific. I mean, Sarah was specifically describing the kind of cupcake that she would reject versus the kind that she was going to pick. And so I think it's kind of being specific, but we didn't talk about this piece of mindful eating, but paying attention to your full signals and to your satisfied signals, whether that is, I have had enough, I'm full, and paying attention to that. Or if it comes to like sweet stuff, maybe I've had enough, I'm satisfied, this was really good, but I don't need any more. Nicole wrote, same, Coach Lee. I necessarily feel good when I indulge too much. It's not worth it most times. And Teresa wrote in the chat box, I'm definitely a 45 screen fast eater like me. I don't think I've ever actually eaten mindfully unless it was a lobster at a restaurant or something. Yeah.
The one thing that I do when I am really trying to be mindful with my eating is I pay attention to chewing. Like I don't count them or anything like that, but I actually pay attention to chewing and the texture of my food before I swallow it. Because otherwise, I hoover it. And I mean, I have been known to swallow things whole, you know? So chewing is suggested.
Instead of hoovering it. Natika says she's struggling with the unexpected treats that pop up, and she's chosen her occasions and don't seem to be able to appropriately categorize a surprise treat. Tell me more. What's a surprise treat? Like, who's surprising you?
Like my husband, he ordered some shit and it was up in the house, and I'm like, that, you know, my day is Christmas. What the hell is this? And he's like, oh my God, it's so good. So in my mind, I'm like, you know, that's probably some processed bullshit, but we haven't, in my mind, I have not said, this day didn't come up. This day didn't come up. So I didn't plan for this surprise shit this year. Or a friend that I love so dearly brought in, she treated me to some cheesecake cupcakes, drool worthy, delicious. Ate them. I mean, I swallowed them whole, but it wasn't in my mind. It wasn't something I had planned for. So I planned for the things that I planned for. It's the stuff that's outside of that that's just tearing me up. And they're really, some of them are worth it. Some of them are not. And even the ones that are not, because I did not have a plan in place because they were unexpected, I still ate it. That doesn't normally happen. It's almost like this Christmas season has tricked my brain into thinking all shit is good shit.
Well, I think there's two things that I immediately think of, which is first, you have a plan, and then that doesn't mean the plan's going to be the way that it plays out. A plan can give you really good intentions, and it's helpful, but surprise things are going to happen. And so you almost need a plan for the unplanned. Almost maybe. So sometimes there could be like a rule of thumb. So for example, if you are going to have an unplanned treat that you're just, you know, your husband brings you something and you're jazzed about it, it's going to be good. And you weren't planning for it, you can have a rule of thumb, which is that if you have a little bit of it, and if it's delicious, you enjoy it with him, make it an experience, not just something that he just put and you're going to have later, but enjoy it with him. Tell him like, thank you that he brought it for you. You know, let him see that you like it. I know that sounds weird, but it like makes it more of a thing if you're going to go for it than just enjoy it. Same thing with your friend. Like if she brings you those amazing cupcakes, instead of swallowing them whole, which is what I would do, experience it like a concert. I know that sounds dumb, but if it's unplanned and you want to enjoy it, then really experience it, because one cupcake's certainly not going to derail your progress. Neither is, you know, what your husband brought home for your treat, but the mental game will derail your progress. So if you get annoyed with yourself for having something that you didn't plan for, and then that annoyed with yourself can spiral into, you know, messing with you. So that's kind of my piece of advice. I know it sounds corny, but I think it can be helpful.
Yeah, I was kind of, when you guys were talking about it, I was instantly thinking, well, you can, even though you didn't plan ahead for it, you can still plan for it right then and there. Like, oh, my husband brought home dessert or whatever. And then you're like, okay, well, tonight we will share a piece together and then kind of enjoy it. So you can like still make a plan as it comes up. It doesn't have to be like a big plan ahead thing. It doesn't have to be completely off.
Maybe this is just me, but in my mind, and you guys can tell me if you feel the same way, it's rarely the moment of a treat that's an issue in the holiday season. It's the leftovers or the repeat version of it, where you know that first thing isn't a big deal and it's fine, but then it turns into leftovers for days, and you had that for breakfast, and then your day is kind of going the wrong direction. To me, that is an important distinction, because we do have a lot of opportunities for the moment. But maybe one of the boundaries is kind of getting it out of sight, out of mind, off your countertop, that kind of thing. So it doesn't end up being this like endless treat. But I like Sarah, what you said about like you didn't have a plan for it, but you can plan once you see it and figure out if you want to share it, if you really love it, whatever, if you want to give some away, after it's done. I think these are really good topics.
Christy, hi, it's Nicole.
Hey, Nicole.
I struggle because I really try to do mindful eating, especially like during the week. I meal prep on Sundays. I have all the things ready. And then I wait and treat myself, on the weekends or for holidays or for travel. But what I'm finding is I don't enjoy the things I used to anymore. So like brownies or, the cakes and the cupcakes, I don't get the same satisfaction that I used to. So then I'm angry because it's not enjoyable, because it doesn't, either it's too sweet to me now. It's not as good. The taste, I can taste the artificial sugars, and it's just not what I remember because my palate is changing. So I'm getting the letdown, like, crap, I did all that mindful eating, all that work for whatever the time frame was, and I'm not getting the fulfillment from the reward piece. And so I get angry and then I potentially overindulge, because now I'm like chasing that feeling of deliciousness that I was looking for or expecting. So I don't know how to explain it other than I just go to my favorite wine and drink it, because that never lets me down.
You're so funny. I feel like this is a win though, Nicole. I actually don't think this is a bad thing. I think this is a strong win. If you are eating real food enough and you're avoiding processed junk enough that your palate is changing, I remember that moment for me. This is a big win. It doesn't mean sweet treats will never taste good. You just are going to get to be picky. You get to level up. You're going to pick ones that you are super pumped about, and they're going to taste amazing. But I'm not surprised that some of the things that you used to like just aren't it anymore. That's a win. And so I don't know, maybe some other people can give a piece of advice, but for me personally, that's why I enjoy going out to eat. Sometimes is because I often choose a dessert when I go out to eat, because I don't do a lot of desserts at home. And I really enjoy the way that like a chef would put together a dessert, and it's much more enjoyable, and I can try it. It feels like a really great treat. So, I mean, that's how I try I don't know, Nicole, that's kind of where I found that joy back when my palate changed. And I no longer wanted my like Weight Watchers, cupcakes that used to taste amazing to me, and now they taste like plastic. Leah, are you trying to unmute?
Yeah, I was trying to. On my phone, sometimes like disappears. One thing I was thinking about when Natika was talking about the unplanned treats, I find that if I can like stick to my like 1% morning thing of having breakfast and like setting myself up in the first part of the day, I have more resolve, for lack of a better word, to follow through on my plan of like not having a treat than if I am like skipping meals all over the place, hungry, you know, all those things. And so I still will say yes if it's something amazing that I don't ever get. Probably most likely not out of like energy hunger, but just out of like, yeah, this is going to be delicious and a choice, and it just feels so much better. So that's kind of one thing that I've been focusing on, is like getting that first part of the day like fueled so that I can like execute my plan how I want to, no matter what my, you know, plan is.
Mm-hmm. I definitely feel that. I've always said like your first bite counts, because I feel like if you go ahead and snatch that bite of cookie or frosting or icing, and that's the first thing that you bite or taste in the morning, it does sort of set you off to skip breakfast and then have endless treats. You know, mindful eating is something that sounds woo woo. I mean, it sounds kind of silly sometimes, even when I say it out loud, but if for us, this is about real life. Ultimately, that's what we're doing here. And so mindful eating is something that we're doing without judgment. I mean, truly, if you can catch yourself in those moments where you're sort of, you know, why am I even eating this? And then just take a minute and taste the food that you're eating. Look around you. Is anybody even watching you? Do they care that you've got all this feelings in your head that somebody wants you to eat this? They're not even looking at you. Is it on a plate? You can catch yourself in those sort of mindlessly eating moments and just check in without judgment, and, you know, kind of center yourself. Be done if you feel done. And then for the stuff that you're really pumped about and you enjoy, you can actually experience it and be present. Your brain will register that you've had a sweet treat. Part of overindulging is mindless eating. So our brains truly are not registering that you've had anything. So like, what's wrong with me? Why do I keep eating these? You keep eating those because your brain doesn't know you ate them, because you know, you're doing 75 things and you're tossing, you know, peanut M&Ms. You're not even paying attention to it. So your brain's like, I'm not eating anything. Plus I really like this sugar. So just keep it coming. And so checking in can give us those brain signals that help us just know if we're full or satisfied, or that we want more or we don't want more. And then we're not playing some kind of weird discipline game where we're trying to fight ourselves all the time. This is a strategy that can kind of catapult you past that. And again, apply it without judgment. This is holiday week. Enjoy it. Enjoy your people. Enjoy these moments and occasions. That's why we live a healthy lifestyle. That's why we work so hard all year, so we can just enjoy these things and not even feel guilty, because we know we'll be right back to it. We don't have to make up for it or, you know, jump on some crazy diet next week. That's not how we do it. So just be present, enjoy it, apply some of these mindful eating strategies this week. Talk to your coach about it. Tell them which one you're going to try. And if you struggle with this, let them know so that they can kind of keep you accountable in the long run around mindful eating. Anything else before we wrap up? My crazy dogs are all here to drink a bunch of water and make loud sounds in the background. And Georgia keeps saying happy birthday because it's Logan's birthday tomorrow. So we're doing birthday dinner tonight. And so she said happy birthday like 75 times on this call. If you've not heard it, that's what she's doing. All right, guys, have a fantastic week. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. We'll do our next live call in 2 weeks. If you need anything, just reach out and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.